Have you ever heard someone's last words? The notification came through while I was running diagnostics on the comms equipment. My phone screen lit up the dark bunker with Mom's name flashing. I almost didn't answer because she never called during my deployment. The time difference alone made it weird. Her voice came through shaky and wrong. Your father's had a heart attack. They're taking him to Memorial now. I'm heading there right away. My hands went numb holding the phone. How bad is it? Bad enough they called me at work. I'm leaving right now. I promise. The line went dead before I could ask which hospital or what happened or if he was conscious. I sat there staring at the cement walls of our communications bunker in Kandahar while my brain tried to process that Dad was dying, and I was 8,000 kilometers away with 4 months left on my tour. Sergeant Kowalski found me 20 minutes later, still holding my phone. He took one look at my face and pulled me into the CO's office. Captain Brennan listened while I explained, then made 3 calls to get me emergency leave approved. But the earliest flight out was 72 hours away. Military transport moved on its own schedule, and mine wasn't special enough to bump. Brennan offered me his office and satellite phone for private calls. I tried Mom's cell 6 times, straight to voicemail. I called the hospital directly and got transferred 4 times before reaching the cardiac unit. Your father is in critical condition. Are you immediate family? I'm his son. I'm deployed overseas. Can someone put a phone to his ear? We don't typically do that, but let me check with the charge nurse. The hold music played for 8 minutes. I counted every second while my leg bounced against the desk, and Brennan pretended to read reports in the corner. Finally, a different voice came on, older and tired. This is Nurse Pattison. Your father is intubated right now, so he can't speak. But if you want to talk to him, I can hold the phone near his ear. Yes, please. I heard rustling and beeping machines and someone saying vitals are dropping in the background. Then Pattison's voice closer to the phone. Go ahead, he can hear you. My throat closed up completely. Dad, it's Cameron. I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm trying to get home. Just hold on. Please, just hold on. The machines beeped steady in the background. Pattison came back on. I think he squeezed my hand when he heard your voice. That's a good sign. Where's my mother? She said she was coming. There was a pause that lasted too long. No one by that name has checked in at the front desk yet, but visiting hours were suspended due to COVID protocols. She'd need to call ahead. I felt something cold slide down my spine. Can you try her number? Maybe she's in the parking lot? Pattison took Mom's number and promised to call me back. I tried Mom again myself. Voicemail. I sent her 7 texts in a row. Dad's at Memorial in cardiac ICU. They need you to call. He's critical. Where are you? Answer your phone. Mom, please, I need you there. Nothing came back. Kowalski brought me coffee that tasted like diesel fuel and sat with me while I called every relative I could think of. Aunt Linda was in Florida. Uncle Ray hadn't spoken to Dad in 5 years. My cousin Jessica didn't answer. Nobody was close enough to get there fast. Pattison called back 40 minutes later. Still no sign of your mother. Your father's condition is deteriorating. His heart rhythm is becoming unstable. We're doing everything we can, but you should know it's serious. Can you do a video call? I need to see him. Give me 10 minutes to get approval from the doctor. I'll call you back on FaceTime. Those 10 minutes stretched into forever while I paced Brennan's office and tried Mom's phone again and again. When Pattison finally called back, the video connected to show my father in a hospital bed surrounded by machines. His face was gray. Tubes ran from his mouth and nose. Wires connected to his chest. The monitors behind him showed numbers I didn't understand but knew were bad. I'm going to put the phone on a stand so you can talk to him, Pattison said. Her face appeared briefly on screen, kind eyes behind a mask. We've reduced his sedation so he might be able to respond. Dad's eyes fluttered open. They were cloudy and confused, but found the camera after a few seconds. Dad, it's me. It's Cameron. I'm right here. I'm coming home as soon as I can. His right hand moved slightly on the blanket. His mouth tried to form words around the tube, but couldn't. A tear rolled down his temple into his hair. I watched him struggle to communicate while 8,000 kilometers and a shitty satellite connection separated us. The machines behind him beeped faster. I could see his chest heaving with effort. A different voice off-screen said his pressure's dropping and someone rushed past the camera. Dad's eyes went wider. He was trying to tell me something. The intubation tube prevented any sound, but his lips kept moving with desperate precision. I'm reading your lips, Dad. What is you trying to say? Tell. Your mother. His chest heaved harder. I forgive her. The machines started screaming. Medical staff crowded the screen. Someone moved the phone and I caught glimpses of hands on his chest and syringes and organized chaos. Nurse Pattison's face appeared again close to the camera. We need to do emergency procedures now. I'll call you back as soon as I can. The screen went black. I sat there staring at nothing while my brain replayed those last words. Tell your mother I forgive her. Forgive her for what? For not being there? For something else I didn't know about? The phrase rattled around my skull while I tried Mom's number again. Still voicemail. I sent more texts. Dad might be dying right now. Where the fuck are you? This isn't a joke. Call the hospital. Call me. Do something. My fingers shook, typing each word. Brennan's hand landed on my shoulder. Take a breath, Cameron. We'll get through this. Kowalski brought his laptop so I could check Mom's Facebook. Her last post was from 3 hours ago. A picture of a wine glass and fancy appetizers with the caption, "Treating myself tonight." The location tag said Bellissimo's, the Italian place downtown that required reservations weeks in advance. I felt my jaw clench so hard my teeth ached. She was at dinner. She was at fucking dinner while Dad coded in the ICU. I called the restaurant directly. A cheerful hostess answered on the third ring. "Bellissimo's, this is Margot. How can I help you? I need to speak to one of your customers. It's a family emergency. Her name is Patricia Lawson." "Oh, I'm so sorry, but we can't interrupt diners unless it's absolutely critical. My father is dying. Her date can wait. Give me just one moment, please." Hold music played. Some smooth jazz bullshit while I white-knuckled Brennan's desk. The hostess came back. "I've informed the couple of the situation. The gentleman said to tell you everything is under control and not to worry." "What gentleman?" "I need to speak to my mother directly. I'm sorry, but they've declined to come to the phone. If you'd like to leave a message, I can bring a note to their table. Tell her Cameron called. Tell her Dad is dying at Memorial Hospital, and she needs to get there now. Tell her word for word. I'll deliver your message right away." The line clicked dead. I immediately called back. A different voice answered this time. "Bellissimo's, this is speaking. I just called about Patricia Lawson. It's an emergency." "Oh yes, Margot mentioned that. The note has been delivered to their table. Thank you for calling." I threw my phone across the room. It hit the cement wall and clattered to the floor in 3 pieces. Brennan picked it up without comment and snapped the case back together. Screen was cracked but still functional. He handed it back. "Call the hospital." I did. Pattison answered immediately like she'd been waiting. "How is he? I'm so sorry. We did everything we could. He went into cardiac arrest and we couldn't get him back. Time of death was 1947 hours. Your father is gone." The words hit like physical blows, each one landing in my chest. Gone. Dead. While I sat in a bunker 8,000 kilometers away and Mom ate fucking pasta. "Can I see him? Through video? Give me a few minutes to make him presentable. I'll call you back." She did. The video connected to show Dad cleaned up with the tubes removed. He looked smaller somehow. Peaceful, but empty. The machines were silent. "Do you want me to stay on the line?" Pattison asked. "No, I need a minute alone with him." She left the phone propped on a chair facing the bed. I stared at my father's body and tried to find words. "I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry Mom didn't come. I don't understand what you meant about forgiving her, but I'll tell her. I promise. I'll make sure she knows." My voice cracked on the last word. Brennan's hand appeared in my peripheral vision with a tissue box. I took 3 and wiped my face while I looked at Dad through a screen that couldn't convey touch or warmth or the weight of goodbye. Kowalski knocked quietly. "Captain, there's someone from Casualty Affairs on the line. They need to talk to Cameron about next steps. I need more time." "Take all the time you need," Brennan said, "but eventually we'll have to start the process." I nodded and turned back to the screen. "I love you, Dad. I'll make this right somehow." I ended the call before I completely broke down. The next 6 hours blurred together. Phone calls with Casualty Affairs, paperwork for emergency leave, more paperwork for military transport, calls to the funeral home, calls to family members, each conversation peeling another layer off my composure. Through it all, I kept trying Mom's phone. Nothing. At 0200 hours, I finally got a text back. Just seeing these now. Oh my God. Is he okay? I stared at those words. Just seeing them now. 7 hours after I'd started calling. 7 hours after she'd gotten the note at the restaurant. Dad died at 1947. Where were you? The reply came fast. What? No. Oh God, no. I'm coming to the hospital right now. Don't bother. He's already at the funeral home. Where were you, Mom? Why didn't you answer? I was at dinner. My phone was on silent. I didn't see the messages until now. You got a note from the hostess at 1930. Dad died at 1947. You could have saved him. The typing indicator appeared and disappeared 3 times. I'm in shock right now. I can't believe this. I need to call you. No. Tell me why you weren't there. You said you were leaving right away. The response took 5 minutes. The dinner was important. It was with someone special. I was going to go to the hospital after. I thought I had time. Who the fuck is more important than Dad dying? His name is Gerald. We've been seeing each other. It's new and I didn't want to tell you yet, but he's been very supportive. How new? A few months? Maybe 6? Does Dad know? Did he know? I couldn't type that correction. Another long pause. We were separated. He knew I was moving on. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the phone. He told me to tell you he forgives you. His last words. What does that mean? What were you doing that he had to forgive? No response came. I waited 20 minutes staring at the screen. Finally, 3 dots appeared. I can't talk about this over text. I'm too upset. We'll discuss it when you get home. No. Tell me now. I need to understand what he meant. The dots vanished. I called her directly. Straight to voicemail. She'd turned her phone off. Brennan drove me to the airfield at 0500. Military transport to Ramstein, then commercial flights to Atlanta, and finally Columbus. 36 hours of travel time, watching my phone for messages that never came. I landed at John Glenn at 1800 on Wednesday and found Mom's car in the cell phone lot. She was waiting with sunglasses covering most of her face and a black dress that looked brand new. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. Just drive. The ride to her apartment was silent. She'd moved out of the house I grew up in. That was news to me too. When did you leave, Dad? 3 months ago. I filed for separation in July. He took it hard. Why didn't anyone tell me? Your father didn't want you worrying during deployment. He said you had enough on your mind. What happened? Why did you separate? She pulled into a parking spot and turned off the engine. It's complicated, Cameron. These things don't have simple explanations. Try. I need to know why Dad died alone. Her hands gripped the steering wheel. We grew apart. He was depressed after his accident last year. I couldn't handle being his caretaker anymore. I needed my own life. So you started fucking Gerald? Don't be crude. Yes, I met someone who made me feel alive again. Your father knew. We'd discussed it. He told me to tell you he forgives you. Her sunglasses hid her eyes, but I watched her jaw tighten. He was medicated and confused. Those probably weren't his actual words. I played the video on my phone. The footage I'd recorded of the FaceTime call. Dad's gray face struggling around the intubation tube. His lips carefully forming each word. Tell your mother I forgive her. Clear as anything despite the circumstances. Mom's face went white. Where did you get that? I recorded it. I wanted to have his last moments. What did he forgive you for? She looked away. We should go inside. This isn't a parking lot conversation. No. Tell me now or I walk away and you never see me again. The threat hung between us. She took a shaky breath. Your father updated his life insurance policy in June. $200,000 with me as beneficiary. He wanted to make sure I'd be taken care of if something happened. Did you know about the money? Of course I knew. We discussed finances. When did you start seeing Gerald? She didn't answer. Mom. When? April. We met in April. 2 months before Dad changed his insurance. Her silence confirmed everything. You were already cheating when he made you the beneficiary. She flinched at the word cheating. It wasn't like that. We'd been unhappy for years. I just hadn't acted on it yet. But he still gave you everything, even knowing. Did he know? I don't know what he knew or when. We never discussed it directly. He suspected. He must have suspected. The insurance policy was his way of saying he still cared. And you let him die alone. I was going to go after dinner. Gerald surprised me with reservations. It was our 6-month anniversary. I didn't think it would happen so fast. The doctor said he was stable that morning. You got a note at the restaurant at 19:30, an emergency note saying he was dying. You could have left. Gerald said hospitals always overreact. He convinced me to stay through dessert. We'd already ordered. I felt something crack inside my chest. He convinced you. Yes. He said if it was really that serious, they'd call again. They did call again. I called again. 12 times. I texted you 23 times. I had the hostess deliver a message. You chose tiramisu over Dad. She started crying behind her sunglasses. Don't say it like that. You weren't there. You don't understand the pressure I was under. Gerald has been so good to me. I didn't want to seem unstable or dramatic on a special night. What if I'd rushed to the hospital and your father was fine? Gerald would have thought I was an anxious mess. So you bet on Dad surviving. And lost. She sobbed harder. I made a mistake. I know I made a mistake. But you can't understand what it's like being married to someone who stopped trying. Your father gave up after the accident. I needed someone who still had energy for life. What accident? What happened to Dad? Her crying paused. You don't know? Nobody told me anything. He fell off a ladder cleaning gutters last September, broke his hip and cracked 3 vertebrae. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks and rehab for 3 months. I sent care packages to a man who couldn't walk and nobody mentioned it. Your father insisted we not worry you. He said you were in a combat zone and didn't need distractions. I should have been told. I deserved to know. She wiped her face. You're right. We should have told you. But he was adamant. He made me promise. And then you left him 3 months later, once he could walk again. The words came out sharper than I'd intended. She flinched. It wasn't like that. I stayed through his recovery. I did my duty as a wife. Then I needed to think about myself, my own happiness, my future. Did Dad know about Gerald the whole time? She looked at her lap. I think he figured it out around June. I was getting texts at dinner, staying out later. He never confronted me directly, but he knew. That's when he changed the insurance policy. One last gift to the woman who abandoned him. Her voice hardened. I didn't abandon him. We were separated, legally separated. I had every right to pursue happiness, and he had every right to be at the hospital when he died. That was my choice, and I made it. I thought I had more time. She pulled off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red, but calculating. This isn't all my fault, Cameron. Your father had access to phones. He could have called 911 when he first felt symptoms. He waited 2 hours before calling anyone. 2 hours hoping it would pass on its own because he didn't want to be a burden. How do you know he waited 2 hours? His neighbor found him collapsed in the driveway at 1400. The paramedic said he'd been having symptoms since noon based on the timeline. He chose not to get help right away. That's not my responsibility. You're blaming him for his own death. I'm saying we all made choices that day. His choice to wait. My choice to stay at dinner. Your choice to join the military and be 8,000 kilometers away. None of us are blameless. The air in the car felt toxic. I opened the door. I need Dad's things. Where are they? Most of his stuff is still at the house. I haven't cleaned it out yet. Give me the keys. She dug through her purse. Gerald is probably there. He's been helping me sort through things. Gerald is in Dad's house? She handed me the keys. He's been very supportive through this difficult time, helping me prepare for the estate sale. I took the keys and walked to my rental car without another word. The drive to my childhood home took 15 minutes through streets I'd memorized as a kid. The house looked the same from outside, but wrong somehow. A black BMW sat in the driveway where Dad's truck used to be. I used the key and walked in. The living room had been partially emptied. Boxes lined the walls labeled donate and sell and trash. A man in expensive jeans and a polo shirt turned from sorting through Dad's book collection. "You must be Cameron. I'm Gerald. I'm so sorry for your loss." He extended his hand. I ignored it. "Get out." "Excuse me?" "Get out of my father's house. I'm just helping your mother with the transition. This is an emotional time, and she needs support. You're a stranger going through my dead father's belongings 3 days after he died. Get the fuck out." Gerald's sympathetic expression hardened. "I understand you're grieving, but there's no need for hostility. Your mother and I are building a life together. This is part of that process. Did you tell her to stay at the restaurant?" "What? When the hostess brought the note? Did you convince her not to leave?" His face gave him away. A flicker of guilt before the mask came back. "Your mother was extremely anxious. I helped her stay calm and rational. The hospital staff said it was stable. We thought finishing our meal was reasonable. You thought wrong. And now you're here profiting from it. Sorting through his stuff before he's even buried. That's unfair. I'm helping Patricia move forward. This is healthy grieving. Get out or I call the police for trespassing. This is your mother's house legally. She gave me permission to be here. She doesn't own it yet. Dad's estate hasn't been settled. Until then, this is still his property, and I'm his next of kin." Gerald pulled out his phone. "Patricia, your son is here causing problems. He's being very aggressive and asking me to leave." I waited while Mom's voice came through the speaker. "Just go, Gerald. Let him have his tantrum. We'll finish tomorrow." Gerald gave me a long look that promised consequences later. He grabbed his keys and walked out. I locked the door behind him and stood in the living room that no longer felt like home. The couch where Dad watched football, the bookshelf he'd built himself, the pictures on the walls showing me at various ages, all of it cataloged and priced for strangers. I found his bedroom and started searching. The nightstand drawers held medications and reading glasses and a journal I'd never seen before. The pages documented the last year of his life. September entries about the ladder fall and excruciating pain. October entries about learning to walk again while Mom grew distant. November entries noticing her texting someone named G at dinner. December entries where he confronted her. She'd admitted to meeting someone who made her feel young again. Dad wrote about the crushing weight of being replaced, of watching your wife fall in love with someone else while you're still healing. January entries about marriage counseling that Mom attended twice before quitting. February entries about her moving into the guest room. March entries about accepting the inevitable end. April entries that stopped being daily. The depression evident in shorter, darker passages. May 20th was the last entry before the legal separation. She wants me to make this easy, to not fight for what we had, to let her go gracefully. I don't have the energy to fight anymore. My body hurts. My heart hurts. I'll give her what she wants. Maybe that's love too, knowing when to step aside. June 2nd had a single line. Updated life insurance today. Patricia as beneficiary. She'll be taken care of. That's what matters. My hands shook holding the journal. He knew. He knew everything, and still gave her the money. Still made sure she'd be comfortable. I kept reading. June 15th, saw Gerald today. He came to pick up Patricia for lunch. Young, confident. Everything I'm not anymore. Everything I used to be. I understand why she chose him. I just wish I'd been enough. July 8th, papers are signed. Patricia moved out officially. The house feels enormous and empty. Cameron doesn't know yet. I asked Patricia not to tell him. He's serving. He doesn't need this weighing on him. Let him focus on staying alive. I'll deal with being alone. August 3rd, bad chest pain today. Probably anxiety. Gerald's car is here overnight now. Patricia doesn't even try to hide it anymore. I'm the past. He's the future. I need to accept that. August 29th, the last entry. Chest pain again this morning. Probably nothing. Patricia posted photos of her and Gerald on Facebook. They're at the beach. She looks happy. Really happy. Haven't seen her smile like that in years. Maybe I did the right thing letting her go. Maybe she deserves someone who can keep up with her. Someone who isn't broken. I closed the journal and found Dad's phone charging on the dresser. The passcode was my birthday like always. His text thread with Mom went back months. I scrolled to June 1st, the day before he updated his insurance. "Can we talk? I need to see you." Mom's response came an hour later. "I'm busy today." "What about?" "The insurance policy. I want to make sure you're listed, even with everything happening." Her reply. "You don't have to do that. I'll manage." His response. "I want to. You're still my wife. You deserve security. Please let me do this one thing." She'd sent a heart emoji. "Thank you. That means more than you know." The next day, he'd gone to the insurance office alone, updated the beneficiary, sent Mom a screenshot of the confirmation. She'd replied with 3 heart emojis, and "I love you." The thread went quiet for a week. Then, July 15th, 2 days before she filed separation papers. "Can you move the rest of your things this weekend? Gerald is uncomfortable with them being here." Dad's response took 6 hours. Of course. I'll get everything out. I'm sorry this is awkward for you both. Her reply. You're being so understanding. Thank you for making this easy. His response. I just want you to be happy, even if it's not with me. She'd sent another heart emoji. The thread went quiet again until August 28th, the day before his last journal entry. Mom had texted at 22:30. Are you okay? Someone said they saw you at the cardiologist. Everything fine? Dad's response came at 22:47. Just routine checkup. Nothing to worry about. Take care of yourself. Her response. You too. Let me know if you need anything. His final message to her was sent at 22:51. I will. And Patricia? Her response. Yes? Him. I forgive you. For all of it. I understand why you did what you did. Just be happy with him. That's all I want. She'd read it at 22:53. Never responded. The next day, he'd had the heart attack. I screenshot every conversation, every message, every timestamp. The evidence mounted. Then I found his photo gallery. Pictures of Mom and Gerald together. He'd been documenting their relationship. Photos taken from his car outside restaurants, outside Gerald's apartment, outside the beach house where she'd posted those pictures. Dad had followed them, watched them, tortured himself with visual proof of his replacement. The most recent photo was dated September 2nd, 5 days before his death. Mom and Gerald at Bellissimo's, sitting at the same table where she'd be 5 days later when Dad died. His calendar app showed the reservation. September 7th, Bellissimo's, Patricia and Gerald. 6-month anniversary. He'd known about their dinner plans. Known the date was significant. The heart attack hadn't been random timing. I found his laptop in the office and powered it up. His email showed correspondence with the life insurance company. The policy was worth $200,000, but there was an addendum, a second email chain with his lawyer. If Patricia remarries within 1 year of my death, the life insurance transfers to Cameron instead. She gets nothing. The lawyer had confirmed this stipulation was legal and binding. Dad had built in a trap, a test. If Mom truly loved Gerald enough to marry him quickly, she'd lose the money. If she waited out the year for the insurance, she'd reveal her priorities. Either way, Dad would get his answer from beyond the grave. I called his lawyer directly. Alan Greenspan answered on the second ring. Cameron, I've been trying to reach you. Your father's will needs to be executed. I saw the email about the life insurance stipulation. Mom doesn't know about that clause, does she? No. Your father was very specific. The policy looks standard. Only myself and the insurance company know about the remarriage condition. Has she mentioned marriage plans? Not to me, but I just found out she's been with Gerald for over 6 months. Alan was quiet for a moment. Your father was a smart man. He knew what he was doing. When's the funeral? Saturday at 1100. Viewing Friday evening. I'll be there. We can discuss the estate details after. I need copies of everything. The journal, the text messages, the photos he took. All of it. Why? What are you planning? Mom's going to post about this on Facebook. She'll make herself the grieving widow. Everyone will rally around her. They need to see who she really is. Cameron, be careful. Libel laws exist. Stick to facts. I have facts. Screenshots, timestamps, his own words in a journal, timeline of her affair, photos he took. It's all documented. What are you going to do? Tell the truth. Dad died alone because she chose dinner with her boyfriend. The boyfriend who convinced her to stay for dessert while Dad coded. That's not libel. That's reality. Think about what you want to achieve here. Exposing her won't bring him back. No, but it will stop her from rewriting history, from playing victim. She doesn't get to cash his life insurance and play grieving widow while people praise her strength. She doesn't get both. Dad made sure of that. The remarriage clause proves it. He wanted people to see the truth. Alan sighed. Get some sleep. Make decisions when you're less emotional. I'll see you Friday. I wasn't less emotional Friday. I was more. The viewing was at Riverside Funeral Home from 1700 to 2000. Mom had arranged everything without consulting me. Open casket, flower arrangements, a memory board with photos from before the accident. Nothing from the last year, nothing showing his decline or her absence, the sanitized version of his life. I arrived at 16:30 and found her already there with Gerald. They were greeting people at the door like a couple, like she hadn't killed him through negligence and he hadn't encouraged her to let him die. Mom wore designer black, tasteful pearls, perfect makeup with tears that didn't smudge. Gerald stood beside her in an expensive suit with his hand on her lower back, proprietary, possessive. I walked past them without acknowledgement. Dad looked waxy and wrong in the casket. They'd done their best, but death doesn't photograph well in person. His face was too smooth, his hands too carefully posed. I stood there remembering the FaceTime call, the gray skin and desperate eyes and lips forming those final words. Tell your mother I forgive her. People started arriving. Neighbors who'd known Dad for 30 years. His co-workers from the auto plant, his bowling league, his veteran friends from Desert Storm. Each one approached Mom to offer condolences. She accepted them with gracious grief, dabbing her eyes, squeezing hands, introducing Gerald as her dear friend who'd been such a support. Nobody questioned the dear friend attending her separated husband's funeral. Nobody asked why she'd moved on so quickly. They just saw a woman in pain and offered comfort. I watched from the corner, documenting. recording on my phone, capturing Gerald's hand, never leaving Mom's body, the way they whispered to each other between visitors, the way she leaned into him when she cried. Frank Martinez approached me around 1800. He'd worked with Dad for 25 years. Your old man was good people. Best welder we ever had. I'm sorry he's gone. Thank you. Frank hesitated. Your mother seems to be doing okay. She's got support. Yeah, she does. Is that the new boyfriend? I heard rumors but didn't want to believe them. That's Gerald. They've been together about 6 months. Frank's face hardened. While your dad was still alive? They were separated. But yeah, while he was alive. That's some shit. Your dad didn't deserve that. No, he didn't. Frank patted my shoulder and moved on. Other conversations happened in clusters around the room. I caught fragments, moving on so fast. Poor Tom. Did you see the way she's hanging on that guy? Shameless. The whispers grew as the evening progressed. People noticed. They always notice. Mom's performance was too polished. Gerald's presence too comfortable. The timeline didn't add up for anyone paying attention. At 19:30, Mom approached me near the casket. You're being very quiet. Are you all right? I'm fine. You don't look fine. You look angry. I'm at my father's funeral. How should I look? She lowered her voice. I know you're upset about the other day, but Gerald has been wonderful through this. Can you please be civil? He convinced you to stay at dinner while Dad died. That makes him wonderful? Several people nearby turned to look. Mom's face flushed. Keep your voice down. This isn't the place. No, this is exactly the place. Everyone here thinks you're the grieving widow. They should know the truth. Cameron, don't. I pulled out my phone. They should know you were at Bellissimo's, that you got an emergency message and stayed for dessert, that Dad died alone begging for you because you chose tiramisu. The room went silent. Mom's face went white. You don't know what you're talking about. I have the restaurant receipts. I have the timestamps. I have a recording of Dad's last words asking for you. Where were you, Mom? Tell all these people where you were. Gerald stepped forward. That's enough. Your mother has been through hell. She doesn't need your accusations. You told her to stay. At the restaurant. You convinced her it wasn't serious. A man died because you wanted to finish your anniversary dinner. Who the fuck are you? Gerald's expression turned cold. I'm the person who's been taking care of Patricia while you were overseas. Someone had to step up. Step up? You were fucking her while Dad recovered from a broken spine. That's stepping up? Mom started crying. Real tears this time. Please stop. You're making a scene. Good. Everyone here should know the scene. Should know Dad changed his life insurance 2 months after you started cheating. Should know he gave you everything even after you left him. Should know he died alone because you chose your boyfriend. Frank's voice cut through the room. Is that true, Patricia? Were you at dinner when Tom died? Mom looked around at all the faces, judging now instead of sympathetic. I was. But it's not what Cameron's making it sound like. I didn't know he was dying. The hospital said he was stable that morning. The hospital called you at 19:30, I said. They told you he was critical. You got a handwritten note from the hostess. An emergency note. I tried calling 12 times. You let every call go to voicemail. She wiped her eyes. Gerald said hospitals always overreact. We thought we had time. You thought wrong, and Dad paid for it. Nobody tried to interrupt anymore. The room had turned. You could feel the shift. Mom wasn't the victim. She was the villain, and everyone was realizing it simultaneously. Denise Campbell spoke up from near the flowers. How long have you two been together? Mom looked at Gerald. He squeezed her hand. 6 months. Almost 7 now. So you started seeing him in April? Denise pressed. While you were still married? We were having problems. Tom and I had grown apart. He knew I'd moved on. Did he know before or after he made you his life insurance beneficiary? I asked. Mom's face crumpled. That's not fair. You're twisting everything. I'm stating facts. You want fairness? Let's talk about fairness. Dad fell off a ladder last September. Broke his hip and spine. Spent 5 months in hospitals and rehab. You left him 3 months after he could walk again. Started fucking Gerald while Dad was still using a cane. Changed your Facebook status while he was still listed as your husband. Let him die alone while you ate pasta. That's the fairness we're discussing. The room erupted. People talking over each other. Questioning. Accusing. Mom just stood there crying while Gerald tried to shield her from the judgment. But there was no shielding from truth. I walked to the front and addressed everyone. My father's funeral is tomorrow at 1100. Anyone who actually cared about him is welcome. Anyone who's just here for the show can leave now. I looked directly at Gerald. That includes you. You're not welcome at his service. You don't get to play mourner after killing him. Gerald's face went red. I didn't kill anyone. You told her to stay at dinner. A man had a heart attack, and you said hospitals overreact. You convinced her dessert was more important than saying goodbye. That's negligent homicide in my book. Call your lawyer then. I'm not going anywhere. I already called mine. Dad's lawyer. Turns out there's some interesting clauses in his life insurance policy. Things Mom doesn't know about yet. Mom looked at me sharply. What clauses? Things we'll discuss at the will reading. After the funeral. After you finished performing grief for your friends. I turned and walked out. Behind me, the conversations exploded. I could hear Mom trying to explain. Gerald defending, people taking sides. The parking lot air felt clean compared to the funeral home's chemical flowers. I sat in my rental car and called Alan Greenspan. They know. Some of it. The affair timeline. The dinner. The insurance money. Good. Let her sweat until tomorrow. The funeral service is at St. Michael's at 1100. Will reading is scheduled for 1300 at my office. Can you make it? I'll be there. Bring the journal. Bring everything. Alan was quiet. You're sure about this? Once you show her that remarriage clause, you burn the bridge permanently. She burned it first. I'm just making sure it stays burned. The funeral was exactly what Dad would have hated. Too formal, too religious, too focused on platitudes about heaven and peace. Father Michaels talked about Tom's devotion to family without knowing Mom had abandoned him, about his strength through hardship, without knowing he'd broken himself trying to save a marriage already over, about his generous spirit, without knowing he'd given his life insurance to the woman who'd let him die. Mom sat in the front row with Gerald, holding his hand, crying into his shoulder, playing widow while her boyfriend comforted her publicly. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. Nobody confronted them directly, but the whispers continued. Side eyes, judgmental looks. The community was processing the truth in real time. After the service, we drove to Riverside Cemetery for burial. 20 cars followed in procession. Not the 100 Dad deserved, but respectable. The gravesite was under an oak tree. Good shade. Peaceful. Dad would have liked the location, if not the circumstances. Father Michaels said more words about dust and ashes and resurrection. The casket lowered into the ground. People threw flowers. Mom threw roses while Gerald held her upright. I threw nothing. Just stood there watching my father's body descend into dirt while his murderer cried performance tears. The will reading was scheduled for 1300 at Greenspan's office downtown. Mom and Gerald arrived at 12:55. She'd changed into a navy dress, less theatrical than funeral black. Gerald wore khakis and a button-down, trying to look respectable. Alan met us in the conference room with a folder of documents. Thank you all for coming. This won't take long. Tom's estate is relatively straightforward. Mom sat up straighter, eager, calculating behind her grief mask. I watched her transform, the performance dropping slightly now that the audience was small. Alan opened the folder. Tom's primary assets include the house at 847 Oak Street, currently valued at $375,000. His truck, worth approximately $15,000. His savings account with $62,000. His 401k with $190,000. And his life insurance policy with a $200,000 payout. Mom did the math instantly. I saw it in her eyes. Over $800,000 total. Alan continued. The house, truck, and savings are bequeathed to Cameron. The 401k is split evenly between Patricia and Cameron after taxes. That leaves the life insurance policy. Mom leaned forward, which lists me as sole beneficiary. Tom and I discussed this before he died. He wanted me taken care of. Alan pulled out a document. You're listed as the primary beneficiary, yes. However, there's a stipulation you weren't made aware of. What stipulation? If you remarry within 1 year of Tom's death, the full policy amount transfers to Cameron. You receive nothing. The room went silent. Mom's face cycled through confusion, anger, and calculation. That's not legal. He can't do that. It's completely legal, Alan said. Tom added this clause on June 2nd. The insurance company has confirmed its validity. You can contest it in court, but you'll lose. Why would he do that? Mom's voice was shrill now. The performance completely gone. I pulled out Dad's journal and slid it across the table. Because he knew about Gerald, knew about the affair, knew you'd left him for someone else. This clause was his insurance policy on the insurance policy. A test. If you really loved Gerald enough to marry him, you'd prove it was never about the money. If you waited out the year, you'd prove it was always about the money. Either way, he'd get his answer. Mom opened the journal with shaking hands, started reading. Her face went from white to red to white again as she absorbed Dad's words, the documentation of her betrayal, his acceptance, his forgiveness, his final trap. This is manipulative. He's controlling me from beyond the grave. He's testing you, I said, seeing if you'll choose love or money. What's it going to be, Mom? Gerald shifted uncomfortably. Patricia, we need to talk about this privately. No, let's talk about it here. You love her, right? Want to marry her? This is the price. $200,000. Is she worth it? Gerald's face revealed everything. The calculation, the hesitation, the truth. Patricia, let's not be hasty. We can wait a year. It's not that long. Mom turned to him slowly. You want to wait? For the money. I didn't say that. You just did. You want me to wait out the clause so I keep the insurance. He reached for her hand. She pulled back. I want what's best for us. $200,000 would help us start our life together. Buy a house. Travel. Be comfortable. You're choosing the money. Just like I chose Gerald over Tom. Just like Tom knew I would. Her voice broke on his name. Alan cleared his throat. There's one more thing. Tom left a letter. For you, Patricia. He pulled an envelope from the folder. Mom took it like it might explode, opened it with shaking hands, read silently. Tears started falling. Real ones this time. What does it say? I asked. She looked up. Her face destroyed. He forgave me. Again. Even after everything. Even knowing I'd choose Gerald. Even knowing I'd probably choose the money over marrying him. He still forgave me. He said he understood. That he'd failed me first by giving up after the accident. That he didn't blame me for finding someone who still had fight in them. She read aloud through tears. Patricia, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I hope it was peaceful. I hope you weren't there because I know watching would have hurt you despite everything. You've always had a tender heart under the practical exterior. I know about Gerald. Have known since April. I followed you once. Watched you together. The way you looked at him reminded me of how you used to look at me. Before I got old and broken and tired. I don't blame you for choosing him. He can give you things I can't anymore. Energy. Adventure. A future without medical bills and depression. I hope he makes you happy. Really happy. Not just exciting, but sustainable happy. If he does, marry him. Don't wait for the money. Real love is worth more than $200,000. But if you find yourself waiting out the year, think about what that means. Think about what I knew it would mean. Either way, I forgive you. I forgave you before you did anything wrong. That's what love is. Forgiving people for breaking your heart because you understand why they had to. Take care of yourself. Tell Cameron I'm proud of him. Tell him I love him. Tell him the last words he heard me say were true. I forgive you. I forgive everything. Love always, Tom. Mom folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. Nobody spoke. Gerald stared at his hands. Alan organized the documents. I watched my mother realize she'd killed a man who'd forgiven her before she pulled the trigger. Finally, Gerald stood. I should go. Let you process this as a family. He walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't fight for her. Just left when things got complicated. Proving Dad's assessment correct. Mom watched him go. Didn't call him back. Didn't follow. Just sat there holding the letter. You're going to wait out the year, I said. Aren't you? Going to keep the money and find another Gerald. Someone who makes you feel alive without costing you $200,000. She looked at me. Her face was raw. Honest for the first time in days. I don't know. Then figure it out. But don't you dare post about Dad on Facebook. Don't you dare make yourself the victim. Don't you dare collect sympathy from people who don't know you let him die alone. She flinched. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Choices have consequences. This is yours. I left Greenspan's office and drove to the cemetery. Dad's grave was still fresh. The dirt mounded over his casket. No headstone yet. That would take weeks. I sat on the grass beside the plot and pulled out my phone. Played the video one more time. Dad's gray face, his desperate eyes, his lips forming those final words. Tell your mother I forgive her. I forgive you too, Dad, for protecting me from the truth during deployment, for making me his insurance beneficiary without warning, for setting up one final test from beyond the grave, for knowing Mom would fail it and leaving me to watch. I forgive you for dying alone because you didn't want to burden anyone, for waiting too long to call 911 because you hoped it would pass, for documenting Mom's affair instead of confronting her, for choosing forgiveness when anger might have saved your life. I forgive you for loving her more than she deserved, more than she earned, more than she could return. That's what love is. Forgiving people for breaking your heart because you understand why they had to. 6 months later, Mom called. I hadn't spoken to her since the will reading, hadn't responded to her texts or emails, hadn't seen her at holidays. She'd become a ghost in my life, just like Dad. Her voice on the phone was small, uncertain. Cameron? It's me. I know. What do you want? Gerald and I broke up 3 months ago. I thought you should know. Why? Why would I care? Because you were right about him. He wanted the money. Once I made it clear I wasn't sure about waiting out the year, he started pulling away. By month 4, he was gone. Found someone else. Someone younger with less baggage. I said nothing. She continued. I've been going to therapy. Real therapy. Not the marriage counseling I quit on your father. My therapist says I have a pattern of running from hard things, of choosing excitement over stability, of mistaking intensity for love. Congratulations on the self-awareness. What do you want from me? I want to know if you'll ever forgive me, like your father did. I thought about that for a long time, watching the sunset through my apartment window, thinking about Dad's letter, his final words, the forgiveness he'd offered freely before Mom earned it. Finally, I spoke. Dad forgave you because he loved you more than he loved himself, because he prioritized your happiness over his own survival, because he was a better person than either of us will ever be. I'm not him. I can't forgive you for letting him die alone, for choosing dessert over goodbye, for making his last moments about your convenience, for posting on Facebook about unspeakable loss while his body was still warm, for bringing your boyfriend to his funeral, for doing the math on his life insurance before his casket hit the ground. I can't forgive those things. I won't. She was crying. I could hear it. I understand. Will you ever talk to me again? I don't know. Maybe someday. But not now. Not while the wound is still fresh. Not while I still hear his last words asking for you. Asking me to tell you he forgave you. Because he did. But I don't. I hung up. Blocked her number. Deleted her contact information. Made her a ghost. Maybe that was cruel. Maybe Dad would have been disappointed. But Dad was dead, and I was alive, and I had to live with the choices I could stomach. His forgiveness had been his choice. Mine was my own. I pulled up the video one last time. Watched Dad's lips form those words. Tell your mother I forgive her. Then I deleted it. I didn't need the recording anymore. The words were burned into my memory anyway. Every detail, every beep of the machines, every labored breath, every second of dying alone, 8,000 kilometers from his son, and 0 kilometers from the woman who couldn't be bothered to leave her tiramisu. Some things you carry forever. This was mine. The last words I heard my father say were about forgiving the person who killed him. That's the truth I live with, the weight I carry, the story I'll never stop telling myself on bad nights when sleep won't come and the desert feels closer than it should. Have you ever heard someone's last words? I have, and they weren't meant for me. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.